What foods should you actually avoid if you have kidney disease? As a renal dietitian, I'm honestly sick of seeing fruits and veggies pop up all over the list of foods to avoid when you Google what to avoid with kidney disease. How are fruits and veggies and even beans and whole grains and nuts and seeds on these lists, but we don't see soda and we don't see cupcakes and other junk food? It's honestly mind boggling, and I'm going to give you the real list of food to avoid if you have kidney disease. Number one is ultra processed food. This includes both animal and plant sources of ultra processed food. These foods are usually a combination of high sodium, high saturated fat, high sugar, and often contain potassium and phosphorus additives. These are foods that we don't want to be eating if we have kidney disease, and honestly, even if we don't have kidney disease. Some examples of these are things like processed meats, sausage, salami, bacon, ham, even a lot of vegan meats can fall into this category. Sugary beverages, sodas, sports drinks, sweetened teas, and super salty, high fat treats and snacks like pastries, fried food, fast food, candy, baked goods. All of these are ultra processed and again, high sodium, high fat, high in sugar, phosphorus, potassium additives. And they're things that we want to be avoiding or at least having in very small, limited amounts if you have kidney disease. So that brings us to the number two thing to avoid if you have kidney disease is foods that contain potassium and phosphorus additives. These can be in anything that's ultra processed, but ultimately you want to check the label and look at the ingredient list of anything you're buying that has the label and look for anything PHOS or anything with potassium. A lot of foods that commonly have them are dark colored sodas, boxed pancake mixes, fast food, some baked goods, flour or corn tortillas. A lot of them don't have phosphorus or potassium additives, but a lot of them do. Some canned soups have them, some don't. So ultimately, it comes down to checking that label. And if it has the phosphorus additive, if it has a potassium salt or other potassium additive, those are more readily absorbed. And those are things you would want to avoid. Next is highly concentrated sources of potassium. If you have an issue with high blood potassium levels, which not everyone does, it's typically these highly concentrated sources of potassium that can contribute to high blood potassium levels. So think of juice. Whether it's homemade or it's store-bought, there's no fiber in it. You get all of the potassium and sugar, none of the fiber with it, and it actually leads to increased absorption of that potassium and more concentrated, higher amounts of potassium. So it's another level of food that I would avoid if you have kidney disease. And finally, star fruit. Star fruit is the only fruit that across the board should be avoided for all people with kidney disease. There are actually substances in star fruit that are neurotoxins. And so when people have impaired kidney function, they can't clear these toxins from the body. And therefore, if you have kidney disease, you want to avoid star fruit. And that's it. That's a renal dietitian's list of what you actually should avoid eating if you have kidney disease. I know a lot of foods can fall into these different categories, but honestly, you're way better off eating a banana than you are a cupcake. So if you find a list online and it says don't eat avocados, bananas, oranges, tomatoes, if you have kidney disease, I honestly wouldn't trust that source. Potassium needs are highly individualized, and even people who need to be on a low potassium diet can still enjoy these foods in smaller portions without it adding up to be a lot of potassium. So I hope that was helpful for you. I'm Michelle Crosmer. Thanks for joining me here on Plant-Based Kidneys Kitchen. Make sure to subscribe, like, share, leave a comment if you found this helpful, and I'll see you all next time.